Oh my God, is it?
Hi everyone, it's Angela from She Simply Impacts, and we are going to have a panel discussion this afternoon with Mary Wong and Sabine Armbruster. And the topic that we are covering is called Maintaining Sanity When Things Go Mad. I don't know about you, but the first half of my year has gone very wonky and maintaining sanity has been a work in progress. And so we are going to unpack this and share what has happened to Mary and Sabina, and maybe you can relate to this. So, Mary, Sabina.
Well, I was going to throw it back at you, Ange, since you started. How about you start? How have you been maintaining sanity through everything that's been going on this year?
Well, I have, it hasn't been in a straight line, that's for sure. So it's been very,
Mm.
times where I felt like I don't know what decision to make. I'm really confused. Lots of transition and upheaval with my relationship ending. And so it's been a big year so far. And I think it seems that things are settling down now. And I have made a decision and moving forward. But is it the right decision? It doesn't really matter in some ways, because what has been really good is just actually making a decision. And from that, everything has sort of
Mm.
resumed to be calm, and it feels like the insanity has sort of settled. But one thing I can say for certain is that I've definitely tried on lots of different scenarios as if I was actually going to do them. And I would tell people, and then the next time I would speak to them, I would be saying, actually, that's off the cards now. Now it's this. And then that would change. And then I would be feeling very insane, especially, thinking,
So,
oh,
how did you, what was it that actually made you make a decision then? Because, I mean, if there's so many
yeah,
options, how did you choose one? What made you make the decision that you
yeah.
made?
I think it was just very experiential in the moment. It was like, because I was trying to future pace myself into different
Mm.
scenarios and to really try and imagine, okay, if that happens over here, then this is what I'm going to do. Or getting, like one option was renting out my house and doing a bit of nomadic, lifestyle. And because I've got my daughter and granddaughter in Melbourne, and I was going to, just be a bit mobile. But then when push came to shove and I got the real estate around and she had a look at the place, I just felt the impact of not having a home. And I have a lovely home. I've got a great home. I love my home. And so it was just really experiential. It was just at the time when, so yeah, I don't know. I just made it. And then because other people are involved, and it's like, okay, well, follow through.
How
Mm.
about you, Mary? I mean, I know there's been, lots happening in your world. And I think that's just a way this year has gone for many people. Was
It's
it that? Did
really
you have to make a decision or what did you do?
so it's really interesting, isn't it? Because it seems like every person I know on the planet right now has had a year that's just been one thing after another. It's like the Sara Lee layer cake of crap. After another layer on layer on layer. And it I've had a bit of that myself. And keeping myself together through all of that has been a work in progress. It has been a matter of going, okay, let's deal with what I can in this moment right now. And the things that I don't have control over, I have to just let them ride. The things that I do have control over are the things that I need to deal with right now. But even then, I had control over so many things and I couldn't do all of that at once. So then I had to prioritize as well and go, all right, so this situation here is not ideal. It's not perfect. It's a long way from it, in fact, and it's causing issues. But I've got to just let that go for now, because until I chip away at these other things, these higher priority things, these things that are really just the big waves. I often say that dealing with life when you're going through a lot of bad circumstances is sometimes a bit like being on the ocean on a stand-up paddleboard, and you've got to deal with what's coming, and you're moving, and you've got to be agile and move around everything that's going on. And it's kind of like that. It's like, okay, there's a really big wave here and a couple of small ones. I need to deal with the big wave first, or I need to, in some cases, I just need to deal with the small ones so that I can cope with the big one when it hits. It's whatever you've got to do in the moment that works for you, and that's kind of how I've been doing it. But at the same time, I think being really kind to myself through the process and going, because we have this thing where we go, like, judge ourselves, right? In our head, where we go, oh, this isn't good enough. You could have done better with that. Like, why in God's name haven't you done something about that yet? All the self-talk that comes, and having to just take that moment and go, you know what? I'm doing the best I can right now. And no one can ask for more than that. And if I was being kind to myself, I wouldn't be saying what I'm saying to myself right now, because it's just creating more waves. So how about I stop creating those waves, let them go, let that feeling go, and go, I'm doing what I can, and that's okay. And whilst I'm doing what I can, sometimes rather than procrastinating around a problem, I'm percolating around a problem. So rather than beating myself up because I feel like I'm procrastinating because I haven't made a decision on that yet, it's percolating. It's there. It's turning. It's going, all right, I've got to find an answer to this. What other scenarios available to me? And it just keeps going round and round and round until finally you go, I think I've worked this one out. And I am at that point right now with a very large thing that's been going on for me for quite some time now, that people around me have been going, oh, will you please sort that out? And I've known I needed to sort it out, but it was one of many things that were going on that I couldn't sort out right there and then, until I came up with something that works.
So you were talking about letting things percolate and go around and round and round. Do you ever let things go and just trust that they will?
Oh, I think that's part of the percolation process, is trusting that percolation will happen in its own time. I mean, you can't make a better coffee by forcing it through the beans faster. You've got to just let it do what it's got to do to create the good coffee, right? It's the same sort of thing. And it is about divine timing. When the time is right, it works. The idea comes, the answer comes, and it's not. So don't mistake percolation for rumination. Rumination's where it is. It's overwhelming and it's all you think about, and it's just going round and round and just like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed by this thing. Percolation is you know what? The time will come when the answer comes to this. I'm just going to let that play in the background, and you'll be doing something like gardening. I find gardening's great for that.
I was just going to say to you, Mary, my spot is the shower. If I stand
shower
in
or the garden,
that's my spot for me. Do you have one? You've said the garden. And do you have
gardening?
one?
I've got
a few.
I've got the gym.
The gym, yeah.
I go to the gym.
I don't go to the gym though.
No, it's amazing. I find the gym, it's like when I don't love gyms, like, don't get me wrong, like lots of people hate gyms and I kind of hate them as well, especially my gym because they play the music so loud.
Oh, I hate that.
But I trialed quitting the gym and it never worked for me, quitting, because it really does something for me. It's those machines and all the different, anyway, and I listen to audiobooks. So I really switch off because I listen to audiobooks. But as soon as I walk in, even if I feel so bad or like a piece of shit, even if I just feel I'm so exhausted, I don't want to be here, all I have to do is walk in, and there's something transformational about walking in. And sometimes I'm walking in and a song happens to be playing and I can almost see my life as if it was a movie. So I'm watching myself walk in there with this music playing in the background of this song. And I feel like, you know, I've detached. I've detached from the insanity of
Yep.
the situation. And so it's really therapeutic. So I keep going.
And when you don't let it grab you, when you just let it play,
Yeah.
it makes a huge difference to the energy of it. It makes a huge difference to the way the answers come. The answers come way more clearly.
Yeah. And
When you're going, okay, I'm taking my focus off of that. I'm focusing on something else. I'm letting something else take the fore. And then in the background, all of a sudden, it's like this little light bulb goes off, and you're like, oh, could try that. Yeah.
the divine timing, like for me, because I've been trying to control things by
Mm.
not being in the present and by trying to do this, you know, the future pacing. And it's like, it's all this type of control. And the insanity comes because it's just all going around and around. And I feel insane because I don't know what I'm going to do actually. Really, I don't have the answer. But then, yeah, but really, it's those things like staying in the present, meditating. I've done a lot of coaching, like Mary, I attend the sessions and She Simply Impacts, and I get so much value out of it. And I have to say, Mary has been coaching me lately a lot, and it really helps. All these things, the coaching, the meditating, the going to the gym, just in the end, just, you know, letting go, like Sabine is saying, trusting, just letting go. But it's that thing of almost having to force myself out of the house sometimes.
Mm. Mm.
See, it's interesting. And I totally agree with you, Ange, about the gym. I don't go to the gym, but I go to my exercise class. I go to boot camp every morning, and sometimes I want to opt out, but then I think about how I'm feeling, and I just go, "No, you've got to go," because I know that I'll feel so much better afterwards. But the other thing for me is, and I'm surprised that neither of you mentioned this, but it's probably there, is, you know, sometimes you've just got all these things going on, you've got all these thoughts, and you go, I'm just going to take one step. I'm just going to do one thing and
Mm.
see how it
Mm.
feels.
Mm.
And I think that's a big part of it is working out how you feel. And I think, Ange, when you said before that you have this love-hate relationship with the gym and you would love to give it up because you hate it, but you can't, so you love it. I think that's another thing, is recognizing, you know, what you love about things and what you hate about things, and which one is stronger, you know, which outweighs the other. I've never been an exercise person either, but I've got to say I love going to boot camp, and it's simply because of how I feel and how my body feels afterwards. But I
Yeah,
can't say I love it while I'm there
no.
because I'm in pain while I'm
Mm.
there. But
Mm.
yeah, the other thing for me is just one step, one small thing, getting one small thing. You know, sometimes when you've got so many things going around, and then you just, at the end of the day, you go, what I've actually done is one thing, and I'm so proud of myself for doing that one thing. And then you feel good about it. And I know it's
It's
a bit of a
ticking something
cliche.
off, right?
Yeah,
It's
that's
ticking
right.
something off. Yeah.
But you know, like, that's sometimes a bit of a cliche, you know, make a list, tick one thing off, recognize that thing, celebrate that thing, and feel good about it. But it's actually true.
Mm.
You know, it is actually true. Because if you can
Yeah.
just get that one thing done, and that one thing, like, getting one thing done is what you need right there and then that is absolutely perfect. It's
Yeah.
like a
I'm really
weight
good
off
at
your shoulders.
procrastination. I'm really good at procrastination when I've got something big coming up, but I love to procrastinate with housework. And, you know, when the kitchen's been messy and I've gone in there and cleaned the kitchen and I can see that I've achieved that thing, that often gives me the energy to then go and work on the thing that I've been putting off. It's that achieving something makes you feel more energized. It's so big, isn't it?
It is. It is so big.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah.
Yeah. I remember there's this thing that's done the rounds on Facebook. You may have seen it, about a woman in depression who was, you know, not functioning in any way whatsoever. And I said, you know, she couldn't even wash the dishes. And the guy said, so run the dishwasher twice. She said, like, I can't even seem to stack the dishes properly and get the dishes clean in the dishwasher. I can't do anything right. And he said, so run it twice. Do it again. Run it 3 times if you have to. Just do what you've got to do to get through. And that running the dishwasher, she did it 3 times, I think, in the end before she got her dishes clean. But she said just that one little tiny thing of actually managing that task that she didn't even feel capable of anymore was, and running a dishwasher, how hard is that? It's such a small thing, right? But if one small step is the small step that turns it around, then it's worth taking.
I think
It's,
sometimes you also need someone to tell you that step.
yeah.
And you've basically just said that, Mary. You've got a lot of things going on, and you don't even think of those small things to do until someone goes, well, why don't you just do this? And you go, oh, I can do that. That's easy. Run the
Yeah.
dishwasher.
Because when you are overwhelmed,
Yeah.
everything's too hard.
Mm.
When you're in that space, oh my God, it's just all too hard. I tell my clients, and I've told a lot of people this, that if you are someone who has the cyclic thing, the mood drops, and you go right into that sense of complete overwhelm and depression of not being able to function, when you're on a good day, when you're feeling great and you're functioning well, get yourself a tiny little notebook and make yourself a list of little tiny things that you do that make you feel good through that day. And then put that notebook aside. And when you're having that bad day, the one small thing to do is to open that notebook and look at it. That's the first step. And you find something. And even if it's just your favorite piece of music that you like to play or something like that, you find something in there that you can manage and do it. Because when you're in overwhelm, you can't think. But if you've got that little list and it's your personal little happy list of things that make you feel good, then you've got something you can work on.
You know what else that list is good for, Mary? So people will always say to you, you've got to reward yourself. Well, it's
Mm.
hard to think of something to reward yourself with because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's just hard. I find it difficult. I'd love to say, well, I'm going to go on a holiday, but realistically, you can't reward yourself with a holiday all the time. So it's hard to think of those small things. And sometimes you go, well, buying myself flowers or turning on the music, it's too small. Is that a reward? But then, like you've said, on a good day, make that list. And so when
Mm.
it's that day that you need to reward yourself, you've got that list and you can look at it and there's something on there that makes you feel good. That's a really valuable list. That is
It
an
is.
incredibly valuable list. I love that.
Yeah. And it can have tiny things. It can have little tiny things like brush your
Mm,
hair
mm.
or wash your hair, like things that you might think are like, isn't that an everyday thing or isn't that an ordinary thing? But when you're in complete overwhelm, the ordinary things don't even come up as solutions for you. It's so big that you're just going, I just can't. I had one of those days a couple of weeks ago. I was supposed to meet up with some people for lunch and everything else. And I had one of those days where I just couldn't. I just can't today. And I actually was in tears, ringing the people I was supposed to be going to lunch with, going, I can't, I just can't, I'm not coming. And they were really worried about me. And I was like, no, I'll be okay. I just need a day by myself. That's what it was. I just needed to take some time by myself and not be somewhere else and just look after me with little things like a bath or going for a walk out in the garden, picking a couple of flowers, things like that, that just refilled my cup, which at that day was really feeling very empty. And we do all sorts of things to look after ourselves on an everyday basis to keep our cup full, but some days I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a bad night's sleep. I don't know if it's a dream I've had through the night. I don't know if it's just, somehow all the energies come in on top of me that one day. And some days I wake up and I'm just like, oh my God, I just can't today. I just can't. And that happens. That's not a regular occurrence. That might be once every couple of years, but I've got my list. I know what my things are that I can use on those days. And I know, and I'm kind to myself and I go, you know what? You just need a bit of love today. You just need a bit of nurturing today. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to let it out, have a cry, do whatever you've got to do and go, all right, I feel better now. And the next day I was perfectly fine. In fact, by late afternoon that day, I was perfectly fine. It was just like, okay, that wasn't a pretty morning. And recognizing it and going, I'm not going to push through this. I'm
Yeah.
just going to let it be.
Yeah.
Because sometimes pushing through is the worst thing you can do for yourself, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I find the thing that trips me up, which is an extra layer on top of the stress, is that the beating of myself up. That it's like the perfectionism. You touched on it before, Mary, but it's so insidious. That I'm not perfect. I have to be perfect by this, age I am, or these life circumstances that have come my way that have sort of destabilized me, like a major relationship of 11 years, coming to an end. I mean, it's come to an end amicably, and obviously that has impacted my mindset, which has then impacted my income, and everything's just, kind of felt like the rug's been pulled from under me. But the beating of myself up, like it's like you've really reminded me a lot, Mary, that I'm doing it. I'm actually there doing that beating of myself up, and it's so unkind. And stepping away from that and switching it over, is possible. Just from those simple things of remembering that, I guess it's those other cliches, Sabina, which is, the things I'm grateful for. And it's such a cliche, focus on the things you're grateful for. But it's actually, there is no other way to be in the moment, is by really focusing on those little things, like my favorite teacup, my favorite tea that I like to drink. Just the simple things has helped and snapped me out of the beating.
It's interesting, Ange, isn't it? Because you don't expect anyone else to be perfect, no matter what age, do you?
No. No, you're the most gorgeous, supportive person in the world. You just need to stick that mirror in front of yourself and aim it right back.
I know, but
and we all have that, right? We all have that moment where we start beating ourselves up over something. I think one of the huge things, and you've just talked about, sitting in that moment with gratitude for your lovely teacup or whatever. Yes, and allow yourself to feel what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Because, we have the right to feel bad on occasion. It's almost like there's this societal thing of, no, you've got to be happy, 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 because the rest of us aren't comfortable when you're not happy. And it's like, no, sorry, I have the right to feel what I'm feeling right now. If I want to, if not want to feel bad, if I am feeling bad, I'm feeling bad, right? If I'm not feeling good right now, pretending that I'm feeling good is not going to make it go away. But take that moment for the gratitude and make it go away that way. Like, allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. It's okay, without flagellation, without telling yourself off. So there was this woman in the UK yesterday, and it's all over LinkedIn and stuff today about, she's the Chancellor or something of the UK. She was in tears in the Parliament yesterday. And there's all these people commenting about this woman and how could she be in tears? She's in this position of authority and that's not leadership. And I'm like, oh my God, what have we lost our humanity? We're not allowed to be in tears just because you're not comfortable with someone being in tears. You're going to actually add to whatever her burden was that caused her to be in tears. I mean, what sort of society have we become where instead of going, oh gosh, she must be having a really tough day today. That poor thing, I really feel for her that she was in tears. That's okay. Let's all breathe through it and move forward. And that's okay. Instead, we're going, this is not good enough. She's in a position of authority. Come on, woman, pull yourself together. It's really interesting because there's also in the same news is Kate Middleton, who's talked about her cancer journey when she sat down in a supportive space there and talked about her cancer journey with other people who are going through cancer right now. And everyone's going, oh, look at her. Isn't she amazing? She's so brave and so strong and got so much grace because she's been honest and open about her feelings. Both of those women in that moment were being honest and open about their feelings. One's being judged positively and one's being judged negatively. And the difference is Kate wasn't crying when she was talking. Kate was visibly upset when she was talking, but she was not crying when she was talking. Why are tears, which are a natural and normal part of our physiology and are there to help us feel better, why are they bad?
Yeah. I
Why are
wrote
they
a
bad?
blog post, Mary, on She Simply Impacts blog about the benefits of crying,
Yep.
because
Yep.
crying, and it's really, because it's just so, I agree, it's perceived as really bad. You know, if you're
And
crying,
it's not.
it's really bad.
It's not.
There must be
If
something
we could
really bad.
change that.
There must be something really wrong. There's
Yep.
nothing wrong. It's just releasing emotion, which actually helps the whole thing pass over so that you can come
Yep.
back to equilibrium and maintain your sanity. And some people
That's exactly
cry
it.
more easier than others. You know, like I'm from an Italian background and I cry a lot. You ladies have seen me cry on many occasions.
I tear up at nothing. I bawl at weddings. I'm shocking at weddings. I can't help myself. I bawl all the way through. Always have. Tears are natural and normal. Tears release cortisol. It's the only way of excreting cortisol from the body is through your tears. Otherwise, you've got to fight it with other ways within your body. But actually having a cry is very therapeutic, is very good for you, both physically and emotionally. It doesn't mean sit there and wallow and bawl all day and go, poor, poor, pitiful me, because that's that continuation mindset that holds you there, right? But just allow yourself to feel and let it out. Because once you've done that, you can move forward. It's
Do you know,
powerful stuff.
I think there are the people that you would have probably seen on social media, Mary, are the ones that struggle with it. You know, there
Yeah.
are millions, and so when you say why don't, you know, what's happened to humanity? Why don't we let ourselves cry? Well, I think we do. I think
We've
it
been
depends on.
conditioned.
I think it depends on who you hang around with. You know, like I don't think that I know anyone that would, you know, be angry or upset or, you know, think less of me if they saw me crying. You know,
Mm.
I think it's really depend. You have to decide on the people that I've just read those posts from that were nasty and made those comments. That's their problem, but that's not the
Yes, it
majority
is.
of society. You
I
know,
think it's
I
a
believe that
societal conditioning that we have to behave a certain way in public. We cannot be seen to cry in public, particularly not if we're in a leadership position. That's rubbish.
see, I believe that's only a part of society. And
Yeah, it
I
is a
see,
part, but it is seen as, and because the other side to this that I was when I was reading it through was there was like, if a man cried, what would everyone say? Uh, why would it matter if someone's male or female? If someone's crying, they're crying, like, and there was this judgment on her because she's a woman in a high position, so she has to be a man
Yeah.
or she has to
oh,
behave
look, I
masculinely.
totally agree
And
with
that
you.
really that really bothered me.
I
I was
totally
reading
agree
that
with you.
going, ooh.
Yeah, there's
No,
nothing wrong with crying.
but what
But
happens?
I'm just saying that the majority, you know, like a big part, that's one part of society, but there's another society that supports that,
Oh yeah,
that loves
yeah,
that yes, you know, keep
yeah.
going with that.
Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Cry. If you need to cry, cry. That's what I say.
But people feel
Sorry, Ange,
ashamed.
we're going to say.
There's a lot of shame around crying. Like if
There
you
is.
cry, like depending on where I cry, right, or who I'm around when I'm crying, shame arises. Like I can't deny that at times.
Well, it
It
feels like
doesn't
a
That's that
sign of
stop when I
self-judgment
weakness,
again,
feel.
though.
right?
What's that?
Is that self-judgment again?
Probably.
Like, oh,
But
that's shameful. I've just cried.
well, maybe. I mean, it's embarrassment, or what will people think, and
Well, it
but
feels like a sign. For me, it feels like a sign of weakness, depending on where it is. You know,
When you
like if,
cry.
well, it depends on the situation.
Mm.
I
You know,
cried in a
it
job
really does
interview
depend on the situation, but
recently.
that's what it can feel like quite easily.
Remember my job
Yeah.
interview a few weeks ago? I
Yes.
cried,
Yes.
and
And
that was
Ange, why don't you share that, how powerful that was?
it was the most unexpected situation because it's a national company. It was one of the senior leaders that was filling in for someone else who was supposed to be interviewing me. And just with his questions, he just cracked me open. And because I've recently, separated from an 11-year relationship, and I was feeling very vulnerable, and I had a few concerns about the job itself, and I just went there and I was very transparent in the interview. It was just the guy was so empathetic, and he went off to get tissues, and he asked me some very, very pertinent questions about where I'm at right now. And then the upshot was, and I also told him I was really transparent about the my ADHD as well. And at the end of that, he offered me the job. So and when I've told people that I cried in an interview, they're like, oh, like, because there's a time and a place for tears. And I guess that's, there's a time and a place for tears. And I think we've all internalized that.
Because we have this assumption and this perception that crying in certain places is not acceptable.
Like that woman, the chancellor, there's a time and a place. You don't cry in Parliament. Well, she's just broken the mold and said, well, sometimes you do. And it's not a sign of weakness. And so that guy gave me the job. He loved my transparency. And then when I shared I had ADHD, he said, oh, I've got it too. And then he went on to share about his son and his family. I felt
we have this idea that we shouldn't share our darkness, or we shouldn't share our issues, like our problems and our things that are wrong. We have this idea that in doing that, we're going to somehow be less. But actually letting someone see our underbelly makes us more.
Yeah.
Because that takes a certain sort of strength and a certain sort of toughness to actually open up and go, actually, this is me. Hello, this is me.
And I was really
in all my glory.
That's right. And I felt really empowered after that, because the ADHD as well is not something that I put in my public profile. I mean, obviously there's a lot of women that have come into She Simply Impacts, a lot of members with ADHD, and I've created a lot of content for women in business with ADHD, women with ADHD. But I felt really, really empowered. I think that really taught me something really valuable, which was that the more, again, the more authentic I am, the more successful I'm going to be. But I'm not saying that's easy still, but bit by bit, it chips away. The facade chips away bit by bit.
Because when we hide these problems, when we hide these issues, they fester. They don't have an opportunity to heal. It's that sharing and that being open and that being prepared to let people see that part of us that allows us to feel more comfortable with that part of ourselves and to be more able to do the work on that part of ourselves. If we're hiding it, we can't do the work on it.
No, that's right. And I can, so it's, and you can get the support that you need. And, but I guess, so when it coming back to maintaining sanity when things go mad, I think for me, crying releases the pressure. So actually that's part of staying sane, is if the tears are there and I'm feeling whatever I'm feeling, because there's a lot of feelings, you can be crying from joy, like you said before, you can be crying from stress, you can be crying from loss, you can be crying from grief, there's just so many things, reasons. So I think that permission is the key. It's permission.
Give yourself permission.
That self-permission.
Yeah.
That came up in my coaching, the permission.
Yeah. Yeah. And not judging yourself for it. And the less we judge ourselves, the less we judge others. So it really does make us a better person to be less judgmental of ourselves. And it sounds a little bit like I'm, preaching here, but hey, I'm a work in progress too. We're all a work in progress, right? I'm far from perfect at that. I do plenty of self-judgment. But what I'm noticing more now is that when I start to judge myself, I go, oh, wow, there I am again. Right. Okay. let that one go. How can I look at that differently? How can I let go of, like, where is this judgment coming from? Is this a societal conditioning? Is this someone else's thoughts that have been pushed onto me? Is this, like, where's that judgment coming from? What's that judgment about? Is there a particular behavior that I'm uncomfortable with that I'm doing that's creating the judgment? And if that's the case, can I change that behavior? How else can I do it? Is there a thought that I'm having? How else can I look at it? So taking that time to reflect as well when we're having that moment and going, all right, what can I do differently here? And I have lots of reflection time.
Self-coaching.
Lots of it. Self-coaching, yes. And if you're not good at self-coaching, come along to a coaching session and get it there. Like, we've got them. If you're a She Simply Impacts person, we've got them, and the cost is so low. It's not a $200 a session cost, but it's a $200 a session, right? Or more in some cases,
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's pretty powerful stuff to have that help, because we don't have to be all at sea, do we?
But what
do you think, Sabina?
No, there's just something else that I wanted to say, and I think that's I think it's about, we're talking about showing your feelings, how you feel, and the emotions. See, I like going out or going places when I'm feeling down and completely immersing myself in where I am and totally distracting myself.
Being in the now.
Because then I don't need to, it's a space where you don't need to actually think about all the other things going on.
Yeah.
It's almost like a space where that makes things more perhaps easier or simpler, or, and you can always walk away with something new that's positive, that can help you or move you forward, and
so my question for you,
pardon?
My question for you is, what sort of places do you go to get that? Is that like a movie? Is it a drink with a friend? Is it like what else? People. It's people thing. So because you're a people person, right?
Yeah, look, it's all for me, it's always around people. I don't tend to watch TV, therefore I don't tend to go to the movies unless someone says to me, we're going to the movies, do you want to come? So I find somewhere to go with someone. And
so that would be on your list, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you might have a list of people as well, so that if you call one friend and they're not available, you call another friend, and then another friend and another friend until you find the friend who is available.
Yeah. And sometimes I just say to myself, look, I really don't want to go to whatever it is this afternoon, whatever party or gathering or whatever it is. But I go anyway because, it's like what I was saying about boot camp earlier. It doesn't seem appealing to go in the first place. But when you're there and you come back, it's made the world of difference. And I think
so it's like taking away the picking at the pimple thing. So you've stepped away from it for a moment, let it do its own thing in the background, and then come back to it later.
Look, it's not necessarily. Yeah, yes, I guess that is it. Not that that's changed. Not that that's necessarily changed, but you might just deal with it differently.
Yeah.
You might think about
it. Takes the pressure off for a bit too, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. There's a lot of therapy around community. So it comes back to community, and not feeling isolated. And yeah, I know it does, and we don't realize how much of a difference, if we belong to communities and we don't show up or we don't go because we're feeling bad, it's amazing the impact that has. People miss us. Like, that's what I learned recently. Instead of going to a networking event that I regularly go to, I went to the gym instead. And when I was driving to the gym, I was thinking, I should be going to that networking event. But I thought, don't worry about that. Just be in the moment. I'm off to the gym. And so I was at the gym. I did my workout and I'd sort of finished. I was checking my email. And then someone from the group said, I'm bringing my laptop. You can help me do something, or he was going to do something for me on his laptop. And then I said, I'm not coming today. And he said, oh, well, we really miss you. And so as I was leaving the gym, I looked at my watch and I thought, you know what, if I just drive straight there now, I could go to the event. And I did. I went in my gym gear and I hadn't had a shower. And I just turned up and I was amongst community, people that I've been building relationships with for months and months and months. And then people came up to me and they were asking about my master classes and booking in time into my calendar. They now need help. And it was really interesting that I just really saw the impact of belonging to not just for myself, but for other people I make a difference for. And so we make a difference to the people in our life. So if we think about the impact on others, so Sabine, are you doing that for yourself, catching up with a friend? You don't even know the impact that's having on the friend.
No, that's exactly
That
right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if you know you're that friend that someone rings and says, hey, what are you doing? Have you got time, or do you want to go for coffee, or whatever it is? That's a pretty special friend to be.
Yeah. Sometimes it might even just be taking a walk together. Just going for a walk, like getting some energy out. It's I think it was you and I one day when I sort of said the comment, like, what's better, coffee, wine, or walk? I think you came back with walk. I want to walk. So we walked. And it was great, wasn't it? It was like that moment where something's feeling overwhelming, where you reach out to a friend and they go, okay. And I think that there's a real power in the friend knowing to say, okay, let's meet for a coffee, rather than knowing to say what's better and giving a couple of options, so that person feels like they're still in control of the answer of that, because you're still giving them some control and you're giving them options and you're giving them something that feels right to them. Not too many options, because too many options is overwhelming in those situations, but a couple. Okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to sit down or do you want to move? What's better? And finding something that's better. I love to hug a tree when I'm really feeling overwhelmed. I love my trees. There's nothing quite like trees and water. They're the two things for me, if in nature, that they just really work for me. And if I go and find a really big tree and just lean against it, put my head against it, feel my body against it, feel the energy of the tree, because trees are so calming, so peaceful and so calming and so sturdy and steady and strong. And it's almost like you lean against a tree and just stand and commune with it. It's almost like it gives you that sense of, yeah, I can do this. I'm stronger. I'm strong. I've got that core. I've got that trunk within me now. And it's really cool. But that's me. Some people don't like trees at all. And that's fine, because we're all different. It's finding what works for us, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty powerful stuff.
It is.
Knowing that you don't have to be underwater here. You don't have to drown in it.
There's ways to maintain sanity.
There is. There is. And when you feel yourself going under, reach up. Reach up in whatever way it is that helps you. Because, And you asked me earlier, Sabina, something about like, what was the difference? What was something about making a decision? How do I come to that moment where I make the decision? And I was starting to say I've been struggling with something for a really long time, and I've just come up with decisions and moments. And we were talking about divine timing, and there's a couple of things that have happened in between there that have kind of given me the slap around the head that I needed to go, I need to make this decision now. I can't keep going like this. I need to make this decision and I need to change. I need to make this change. Because I think the thing about divine timing is that the stuff that happens in between is the thing that tilts the scales from, it's okay. I can manage to know I really need to change this. I can't keep going like this. And there's that moment where it just tips, where and it can be the tiniest little thing. It can be a text message from someone where you just go, no, that's it, I'm done. And sometimes it just happens that way too. Sometimes you just go, I can keep going with this, that's fine, until you can't.
I think
And
the
when you
lesson
can't,
in that for me is just to always be aware and think about what's happened today or the conversations you've had, or, reflect. Reflection is
in a
so
positive manner.
important.
Yeah.
It's important for your day. It's important for your sanity. It's important for your emotions, for your business. It's important in every single thing you do, is that
Yeah.
reflection. Because unless you can look back, and work out what worked and what didn't work and what helped and what didn't help, I mean, that's really a huge help moving forward, isn't it?
Mm.
So
Yep.
I think,
Always look for the
mm,
lessons,
yeah,
look for the ways that you can grow through it, but don't squash yourself down through it. Lift yourself up.
Yeah, that's the
Mm.
key. That really is the key.
Mm. Mm. What a
Wonderful.
beautiful subject to discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
probably a great place to leave it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
thanks.
think so.
Yeah. You think?
Yeah, I think so. Mm.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for the discussion. I hope you get value out of this. And remember, it's a work in progress. Tap into what we offer in She Simply Impacts. And take care and see you soon. Bye. Bye, ladies.
Bye. Bye.
bye.